Hey everybody, welcome back to the Last Word Podcast. This is Josh,
I'm Nick.
and today we're doing the NFC South all-time team, part of our all-time team series. Let's get into it. Starting off with the Falcons. We had a tough time with quarterbacks because both of them had big controversies in their career. But we ultimately went with the guy with the larger controversy, I would say, in Matt Ryan. He ended his career with 60,000 pass yards, had an MVP in 2016, and also made the Super Bowl in 2016, which he lost to Tom Brady in a game that got out of hand from him in the beginning, or maybe towards the end. I'm not really sure. But him combined with Julio Jones, his receiver on this all-time team, made a great tandem. Julio Jones ended his career with 1,400 career receiving yards, one of the greatest receivers of the 2010s, and probably one of the greatest receivers, top 15 at least, top 15 greatest receivers all time. Was a big receiving yards guy, had a couple 1,700 yard receiving seasons. Never a big touchdowns guy though. Moving on from him, before him we had Roddy White, was a first overall pick back in the 2000s, right after that Dirty Birds era. He just did enough to stay around. He had a couple 1,000-yard seasons, 10,000 receiving yards all time. Honestly, if he's a receiver on your all-time team, you're not doing too bad as an offense. And then Drake London, hopefully a guy who will one day take over for Roddy White on this team. He's already put together a couple 1,000-yard seasons with, honestly, I'd say shit quarterbacks. I mean, Michael Penix, late career Matt Ryan, Desmond Ridder. I mean, he's really had it through. I mean, hopefully Tua Tagovailoa can really kickstart his career here in Atlanta. Then we have Tony G. I don't need to say anything about Tony G. I mean, even though he played the later end of his career in Atlanta, he still did more than what I would say Egil Crumpler did in his time at Atlanta to really warrant the spot over Egil Crumpler. Egil Crumpler, though, was a good tight end for the Falcons for quite a while, too. And then Bijan Robinson, a guy we're really projecting to be on this list, because Michael Turner probably could have been ahead of him. He had a lot of good seasons, quite a few good seasons back in the 2010s, Michael Turner. But Bijan Robinson's already had a 2,000-yard from scrimmage season. He's an insane receiver, insane rusher, and he is so durable. I mean, I've seen him take so many career-ending injuries in Texas. He might, I don't know. He's going to do great things in his career is all I'm going to say. That's the Falcons offense. I'll let you get onto the defense.
Yeah, look up Bijan Robinson avoiding death, and you'll probably find the image. Okay, but Falcons defense. We're going to get the boring stuff out of the way. We got Scott Case and Ray Brown at safety. Nothing too crazy. Falcons never really had any safeties that, had a lot of all-pros, bunch of Pro Bowls. Although Jesse Bates is probably going in that direction. But ultimately we went with, like I said, Scott Case, Ray Brown. Highly durable guys, longtime Falcons. Both ended with over 30 interceptions in their career, so yeah, whatever. And we got Jesse Tuggle, Keith Brooking, two linebackers who really anchored that Dirty Birds defense and really led them to that Super Bowl, I believe, in 1998. Yeah, really good accolades. Tuggle had 5 Pro Bowls, 4 times led the league in tackles, and then Keith Brooking made 5 consecutive Pro Bowls. So, I mean, there's a reason they made that Super Bowl. Then moving on to corners. I've never really seen a corner disparity like this, but you have arguably the best corner of all time. I'm not even going to get into his accolades. You know who Deion Sanders is. And then you got Desmond Trufant and Ray Buchanan. Kind of were mid, low-key, but, they didn't have many interceptions, but they were good, pass defense, lockdown guys. And then let's on to the Falcons D-line. We're going to start off with the Hall of Famer, who I actually had not heard of prior to doing the research, Creed Humphrey, who was part of that late 70s Grits Blitz defense, where they would rush like 8 players every play. I don't know how they won games, but apparently their corners are pretty good or whatever. But anyways, Hall of Famer, 6-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 122 sacks. Yeah, great career. And then Jonathan Abram, another great guy on the edge, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first team All Pro, forced 48 fumbles in his career, which is pretty crazy. What am I missing? Okay, and then the interior defensive tackles. These two D tackles actually anchored the 2016 Super Bowl, which we won't go into detail about that Super Bowl, but it was really hard to run against these two guys. Grady Jarrett, 2-time Pro Bowler, actually holds the single game Super Bowl record with 3 sacks. He actually sacked Tom Brady 3 times in one game, which is pretty crazy. And then Jonathan Babineau, another guy, has pretty decent stats. Another guy who anchored that D-line in that Super Bowl run.
Now we're on to the Saints.
All right. Let's start off with the O-line. Teron Armstead, Ryan Ramczyk, Skitch, whatever. 2 guys on a Hall of Fame trajectory. So yeah, good for the Saints for getting these guys. Quarterback. If you have anyone other than Drew Brees, you're an idiot. Drew Brees has a Super Bowl, held pretty much every passing record up until Tom Brady decided to barely edge him out in a lot of those. Yeah, probably enough said on Drew Brees. Probably, top 5 quarterback all time. Receivers, Michael Thomas. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent here. Early on in his career, for his first 3 or 4 years, he was on a top 10 receiver of all time trajectory. He was averaging like 1,500, 1,600 yards a season up until his 2019 season, where I believe he got 149 receptions, which is still the single season receptions record. After that, he injured his ankle in 2020, and since then evaporated. I think he doesn't play football anymore. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what happened to him. I mean, I know injuries can derail careers, but I've never seen a guy go from 149 receptions to the very next season getting like 30 receptions and then 15 receptions and then eventually just fizzing out. But yeah, one of the biggest what if stories for Michael Thomas. Marquise Colston, not a big accolade guy, but longtime Saint, was a wide receiver 1 for most of Drew Brees' stint in the late 2000s to early 2010s. Along him, Jimmy Graham was, another primary target during the bulk of Drew Brees' career. One of those guys after Tony Gonzalez, 6'5", power forward, just literally throw the ball up to him if he's in single coverage, and, he has a pretty good chance of coming down with it. And then Alvin Kamara at halfback. You could go Deuce McAllister. I mean, I don't think he's better than Alvin Kamara. Probably equal in terms of how good they are as rushers, but Alvin Kamara, I think, definitely edges him out in the receiving aspect of the game. Truly a pioneer, along with Christian McCaffrey being that satellite running back. So definitely Alvin Kamara.
All right, and now I have a very stacked defense here to talk about. Let's start, I guess, with Roman Harper, Malcolm Jenkins. Both, I'd say, had very similar careers. Roman Harper was during that Super Bowl, and Malcolm Jenkins was drafted the year after that Super Bowl. Both very good safeties throughout the career. Not good enough to be Pro Bowlers, All Pros, or be Hall of Fame conversation, but they were both very good safeties throughout the career to stay around for a long time. Roman Harper stayed most of his career with the Saints. Malcolm Jenkins split his career between the Saints and the Eagles. Both, again, just very insane safeties, very good tacklers, enforcers of the football, defensive side of the ball. And then we got Tracy Porter. I don't know if he's the best corner in Saints history, but he's definitely the reason why that Super Bowl was won with the pick. But I mean, I can't feel like I can't make a Saints all-time team without Tracy Porter on it somewhere. And then Marshawn Lattimore, Defensive Rookie of the Year, several-time Pro Bowler, very good lockdown corner, very hot at the beginning of his career. Just really fell off somewhere. I don't know where. He just fell off. They traded him to the Commanders, and he just hasn't been good since. but he was very good at the start of his career. And then now, obviously, let's address the elephant in the room. This defense is different from my other defenses because I argued that we just couldn't make a Saints all-time defense without just including the whole dome patrol on there, and we just decided to do that. So starting off with Sam Mills, very good linebacker, Hall of Fame linebacker, anchoring that defense. He was considered quite undersized actually for his era. He was only 6'1", when an average linebacker was like 6'3" and like 240. So he's considered undersized, but he certainly played up to it. Hall of Famer alongside with him was Vaughn Johnson, his the other linebacker alongside him. He also racked up 1,000 tackles, several-time Pro Bowler with the Saints. He actually started out his career, I believe I want to say Tennessee. He didn't start his career with the Saints, but most of the notoriety was being part of that Dome Patrol with Sam Mills, the inside linebackers. We also have Demario Davis here real quick. Demario Davis made most of his All-Pros and Pro Bowls with the Saints, was an insane linebacker, especially for that stint of time where they did not allow a 100-yard rusher, if you remember that, back in the late 2010s. And then back to the Dome Patrol, Ricky Jackson, another Hall of Famer, 100 sacks, um, several Pro Bowls. Reed stayed a long time with the Saints, and alongside him was Pat Swilling on the other side, who won Defensive Player of the Year, 100 sacks. Another guy who I think should be a Hall of Famer too. I mean, these four linebackers, I mean, Sam Mills, Vaughn Johnson, Ricky Jackson, and Pat Swilling. I mean, you really think these guys are, like some Madden team you created. You just put all the best linebackers on your team. And then alongside the D-line with them, though, was Cam Jordan, who's played a long time with the Saints since 2011, just about 15 years now. I don't know if he's still on the team, but he has 100 sacks with them, several-time Pro Bowler, 2010s All-Decade team, a very good defensive end that I think any team would be lucky to have. And the defensive tackle is Roy Glover, a guy who started his career very rough, practice squad guy, ended up going to the XFL or UFL or AFL. I don't remember. I don't know. But he went to one of those secondary leagues, kind of played his way back into the league, earning his spot on the Saints, and then eventually gained 17 sacks and an all-decade team with the Saints. But yeah, that's what we have with the Saints. Now on to the Panthers. We have a colorful cast for this offense. Starting with Superman Cam. Man, he loved his hats. I mean, man, what can I say? He just really loves his hats. And then we also got third leg G Reg, part of the 7th floor crew.
Yeah.
Don't bring it up around him though. And then we got HR's favorite wide receiver, Steve Smith Sr. Ah, man.
Do we have to blur this shit out?
I don't know, but thanks YouTube. And lastly, man, I would say without color, C-Mac. Back to Cam Newton. He won MVP in 2015 and won made the Super Bowl in 2015, but lost it to the Denver Broncos. I'm going to say I think him and Matt Ryan have had a very similar career in that they both won an MVP and made a Super Bowl, but I think the difference between both of them being Hall of Famers or not is that they both lost the Super Bowls. What do you think?
Yeah. Definitely.
Right. I think if they won, Cam Newton and Matt Ryan, they both be Hall of Famers, but I mean now it's kind of dicey up in the air. Cam Newton is still a legendary quarterback, MVP, held all the rushing records for a quarterback up until very recently when Lamar Jackson's finally starting to break most of them. And then Steve Smith Sr. was a Triple Crown winner, had 1,400 receiving yards, played a long time with the Panthers before going to the Ravens, actually. But very good receiver. He was considered very undersized because he was one of the first 5'9" receivers in the league. But he made the best of it. He was very ice up son. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then alongside him, Mushin Muhammad, another. I mean, it's kind of crazy. You think about Steve Smith Sr. when you think about all-time Panthers receivers, but not a lot of people think about Moose Muhammad. He also almost won a Triple Crown. He just didn't have the touchdowns, but he did lead the league touchdowns, I think, a year after. Landed his career with 11,000 yards. I think he played his full career with the Panthers, if I'm not mistaken. but a great pairing with Steve Smith Sr. on the other side. And then DJ Moore, he had 6,000 receiving yards with the Panthers, had a couple of 1,000-yard seasons with them. He's just kind of the best of the rest as far as Panther receivers go. Greg Olsen started his career with the Bears until he got sent off to Carolina, where he said is the best things that ever happened to him because he kind of became one of the best tight ends of the 2010s. I'd say I don't know if he's Hall of Fame worthy. I think he's got a decade team. He might be Hall of Fame worthy. They won the Super Bowl. But Greg Olsen, really great tight end for those 2010s. Probably one of the greatest in the 2010s, early late 2000s. And then we got C-Mac. Had that 1,000 season. Was very good for them when he was healthy. I know we probably could have put someone else from the early 2000s Panthers, but I just felt like C-Mac was probably the best running back they've had, just talent-wise. That's all for this offense.
Defense. All right, Panthers defense. I'm gonna kind of jump around a little bit based on like eras. We got Mike Minter, Charles Godfrey, Chris Gamble, Kawan Short, Chris Jenkins. Guys who never had like that many accolades or high stats, but they were really the anchors of the early 2000s and late 2000s Panthers, especially the 03 Panthers that actually led them to a Super Bowl and actually were minutes away from winning a Super Bowl had their kicker not kicked it out of bounds and given Tom Brady the ball at the 40-yard line. But that's a whole nother tangent. But yeah, all these guys very underrated. All right, let's go to linebackers. Luke Kuechly, you should know him. First ballot Hall of Famer. Won DPOY in 2015. Holds most of the tackling records and stuff like that. Thomas Davis, a very underrated linebacker. I think people would actually talk more highly of Thomas Davis had he not been next to Luke Kuechly. But yeah, very good linebacker in his own right. 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro. Yeah, so very good for him. And then the corner room, you might be saying, wow, Josh Norman is your cornerback one. I'm going to say, yeah. I'm going to make a case he was at least a top 5 corner in the decade, if not a top 3 corner. If y'all don't remember, I think it was 2015. He completely shut down an up-and-coming Odell Beckham in a game where if you watch the highlights of that game, just watch the interaction between those two. He had Odell Beckham so thrown off his game that Odell Beckham was coming off the line just trying to throw punches at Josh Norman instead of actually running routes, which is crazy. Yeah, big shit-talking corner, and he could back it up, honestly. And then, I already talked about Chris Gamble. Good pass defense guy, nothing crazy, but, he was part of those 2000s Panthers teams. And then we put J.C. Horn on here, who I think has only been healthy 1 season in his career. Someone could probably fact check me on that. And he has 2 Pro Bowls. 1 healthy season, 2 Pro Bowls. Go figure. Whenever he's healthy, he is definitely a top 5 corner in the game. And I think most Panthers fans, I think all Panthers fans will back me up on that. Moving on to the D-line, we already talked about Kawan Short, Jenkins, being very good, very good interior presence for the Panthers. But Julius Peppers is definitely the star, or I guess co-star, on this team alongside Luke Kuechly. Hell of a career for Julius Peppers. Got in the Hall of Fame. 160 sacks. Yeah, 160 sacks. Crazy. And then Brian Burns, who might be the weak link of this team. Just because his career is still ongoing and, he's not like one of those top echelon players yet. But, a very solid player in his own right. He's got 3 Pro Bowls. Pretty good, very, high sack guy, can really get to the quarterback. And yeah, I think that's it. All right. Now we move on to the Bucks offense, who, we'll get the offensive line out of the way. Tristan Wirfs, Hall of Fame trajectory already. Some could argue first ballot Hall of Fame trajectory already. So yeah, good on the Bucks. We'll talk about this T Brady guy. Yeah, pretty good quarterback, especially when he was with the Bucks. It really was between him and Baker Mayfield. Both have played, or both have played and play. 3 seasons with the Buccaneers. Really had to give the edge to Brady just because he has that Super Bowl on his resume. So, although I do think he is slightly overrated in his Bucs stint, but that's a whole nother story. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Vincent Jackson, probably the best wide receiver trio on this group. Obviously, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, really the offensive anchors in that Super Bowl run. And then Vincent Jackson, very underrated receiver in his own right. Unfortunately, did pass away, but very, like I said, very good receiver in his own right. Very underrated stats. Did play for the Bucs at the end of his career, but he was still very effective. And then we got sorry, Jimmy Giles. That's his name. Yeah, y'all can leave a comment or whatever if you've ever heard of Jimmy Giles. I know me and Josh have never heard of Jimmy Giles, but apparently he was a dog back in the day. 4 Pro Bowls, all-time leader in tight end receiving yards with like 4,000 something. So yeah, whatever. Shout out Jimmy Giles. And then really, a very good running back duo here with Warwick Dunn and Mike Allstott. They called him Lightning and Thunder because he had 6'2", 265 Mike Allstott, who really should have played fullback. It's not really fair. They put him at halfback, but he was the white Christian Okoye. He would really pound defenses, and then once they're tired, you have offensive rookie of the year, 10,000 yard rusher Warwick Dunn, who would come in and really slash defenses. So yeah, I'd say definitely the top defense or top offense in this division for sure. Now on to the defense.
All right, white guy and pound. I don't think we've ever heard those words together in a sentence. Speaking of underrated white guys, John Lynch, probably one of the greatest white guys of all time. If you want to make an all-time white guy list, all-time white guy, all-time team. He's got to be on that team. Racked up interceptions. Very, probably the enforcer alongside Derek Brooks of that early 2000s Bucks defense that won the Super Bowl. Hall of Famer. Very recently made it in. Now the Bucks, San Francisco 49ers general manager. He is a complete idiot, but was a really great safety. I guess that's probably why he's now dumb. Antoine Winfield Jr. Very good trajectory in his career. If anything, he's going to end up being like a Roman Harper, Malcolm Jenkins kind of safety when it's all said and done. Won the Super Bowl in his first year. Really just is a good player right now. I think he's kind of, I don't know if he's fallen off, maybe because the Bucks just haven't been doing so well lately.
I don't think so.
But he's still a very good player. Rondé Barber, twin brother, Tiki Barber, by the way, had a lot of fumbles, a lot of interceptions in his career, made Pro Bowls. He's honestly not your typical corner because, he was really, really ready to get down and dirty. Very good tackler in his career. A lot of corners these days don't do that anymore. But they should really look at Rondé Barber if they want to learn how to play cornerback. It was also part of that 2000s Bucks defense. And also a Hall of Famer. And alongside him, we have probably the weak leaks. Donnie Abraham made a Pro Bowler, led the league in interceptions one year. He was right before that run that they made to the Super Bowl. Donnie Abraham. I think he retired just a little bit before that. And then Carlton Davis made the Super Bowl run with Tom Brady. Played only a few seasons there with them, but he was a very good corner. Onto the D-line, we have Leroy Selman. Very underrated. I don't think a lot of people hear about Leroy Selman, but he's on the NFL 100 all-time team. I think a lot of people don't hear about him because he was part of those really dog shit Bucks teams where, it was Leroy Selman and the Plumbers.
American Globetrotters.
They went 0 They went like 0-39 in like a 3-year stint, dude.
I don't think it
It's
wasn't that bad, but
no, it was that bad. I think they like
I
won their first game in franchise history, and then they like lost like the next
think it
39
was 26
games.
in a row,
Maybe it was 26 in a row. Yeah,
something like that. But
it was
yeah.
insane. It was really bad. You probably hated your life as a Bucks fan if you remember that if you were back there. And now we have a real man of action, Warren Sapp. Um, really anchored the middle of that Bucks D line during the early 2000s during that Super Bowl run. And got into some trouble with the law when he got to the Raiders. I mean, go figure, right? But Warren Sapp was a very good defensive tackle. I'd say probably one of the all-time defensive tackles. And right next to him is Gerald McCoy, who I don't know, maybe he has a Hall of Fame case, maybe if he won a Super Bowl, I don't know. 6-time Pro Bowler Gerald McCoy was a good sack guy. A little different from Warren Sapp because he was more of a sack guy than a stuffing guy. Um, and his career with the Cowboys when he just mysteriously got cut and fell off the face of the earth. And then Simeon Rice, who's another guy, I think he has like 123 sacks in his career, was alongside Warren Sapp on that um, defensive line. I think I've heard Warren Sapp sing high praise for Simeon Rice. It's just very interesting he's not in the Hall of Fame. Maybe people just don't think about him. I don't know if he's done anything wrong. I mean, it doesn't look like he's done anything wrong as like his life or anything. So I mean, I just generally don't know what he's let the man in. I mean,
they let Warren Sapp
I guess it took forever to get Rondé Barber and John Lynch in. I mean, they very recently got in. I mean, I guess we just got to wait for Simeon Rice. But I mean, behind them is Derek Brooks, who is probably one of the greatest outside linebackers of all time, which is kind of crazy because they consider guys like Lawrence Taylor and who else? Who else? Like Lawrence Taylor, Von Miller, all those guys, those big sack numbers guys, they consider those guys outside linebackers too when they do all-time teams.
Mm-hmm.
And Derek Brooks just making that team is insane because he wasn't a sack getter. He was just a true Sam linebacker. You know, it wasn't the green dot guy, but he just ran all over the field making plays, and he really helped that Bucks defense. And then Levante David was the late 2010s, early 2020s counterpart to Derek Brooks, where he wasn't a big Pro Bowl guy, but he was just always a good linebacker. He was their answer to Luke Kuechly, and man, was he a pretty good answer for that. But that about concludes the Bucks here. And that concludes our video. Thank you guys for watching. Hope to see y'all next time.
Oh yeah. We're probably gonna do the AFC North.
What? Yeah, North. Oh God, the North.
Yeah, AFC North. This one was definitely better than the AFC South for sure. But the North should be a nightmare. But I mean, we promise we're saving like the actual good divisions for last. We're getting these shit divisions out of the way. So yeah, thank you to everyone for watching. We'll see you on the next one.